And it goes a little something like
Hello everyone, it's Zozo here and welcome back to my channel. Happy Halloween everyone. I hope this video will be up by Halloween, but if not, it will be just a day or two late. So happy Halloween regardless. Today I wanted to talk about quite a chilling true story in the spirit of spooky cookie Halloween, and it is a case that has been captivating the attention of many people for decades now. Actually more than decades. It's been over a century that this case has been just unsolved. There are no leads, there's nothing, literally nothing. Cold case, and we'll get into it today. So yeah, just grab some hot tea, a warm blanket, and turn down the lights, and let's get into this video. So as I said, today we're going to talk about one of the most bizarre cases of New York City's high society, and it is the disappearance of Dorothy Arnold. I hope I'm saying her name right, and I hope I'm saying all of the names in this video right. If I'm not, please feel free to correct me. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So this case begins on December 10th, 1910, when Dorothy decided to go out to get an evening gown for her sister's coming of age ball that was happening 5 days later. So just to give you guys a little bit of context on Dorothy and her family, she was born in 1885 to a very privileged family. Her dad, Francis Arnold, was a very successful perfume importer, and her mom, Mary Parks Arnold, was also from a very prominent family, so they were very well known amongst elite circles, and it was partly due to Dorothy's uncle, who was at the time a US Supreme Court Associate Justice. So Dorothy was well educated. She had graduated college and she had aspirations of becoming an author. However, her attempts at writing were often met, not often, they were always met with rejections from publishers, and they were met with a lot of mockery from her family, who did not really support her career, it seems. She had asked her father if she could rent an apartment in Greenwich Village, which at the time already had a reputation for fostering creativity in general, especially amongst writers, but her dad had refused, and he told her that if she was truly meant to be an author, then she would be able to do it from anywhere, and she didn't need to be in Greenwich Village to be able to write. She had built a reputation as a society girl. She was often seen frequenting society events and mingling with other elites. However, it seems like beneath the surface, she was dealing with a lot of pressure from the expectations of her family, it seems like. On the day of her disappearance, she went out with a tailor-made suit and a very noticeable velvet black hat that had 2 blue roses on it, I believe, and a blue coat. And this is relevant because it seems like her outfit kind of stood out at the time. Like she would very easily be noticed in Manhattan, and it was very obvious that she was part of the high society of New York City. Before going out, she informed her mother that she was going to buy an evening gown, and to some people, I've seen some discourse online about this, because a lot of people seem to think that if this was such an important event and her daughter and her sister Marjorie's coming of age ball, then why wouldn't they have made a gown specifically for her? Why does she need to go out and buy a dress that's already made? However, there isn't enough evidence to suggest that this is how they usually did it, or that it was unusual for her to go out and purchase an already made gown. So it's really difficult to make any conclusions or assumptions based on just that. It was later reported that the first stop that she made once she was out is to buy some sweets, and the person that she bought them from knew her well enough to just put the bill on the family account without having to check her identity. After that, it was said that she went to a bookstore where she purchased a book, and there she met accidentally a friend of hers, Gladys King, who gave her back an invitation and just made some joke about how she was saving on postage. And it is also believed that Dorothy told her that she was going back home and that she was going to probably go through Central Park on her way home. And yeah, so this is very relevant because something will come up later about Central Park, so I'm just putting it out there. It is also reported that she had walked about 52 blocks on this outing, which again, a lot, but not enough to really be able to say anything. It is believed that these little outings were her only exercise, and that she was a very healthy girl who liked to walk a lot. This is what I was able to find on an article that was published in 1960, so 50 years after the incident. And yeah, so nothing out of the ordinary just yet. That night, when Dorothy still was not back home by dinner, the family started to grow anxious because this was not a regular behavior from her. She would never just skip dinner, and especially not without letting her family know beforehand. So the mom started to make some phone calls to acquaintances and friends of the family and friends of Dorothy specifically, but everyone just said that they had not seen her that day and that they had no idea where she was. They even received a phone call later from a friend that they had called before, and she was asking if Dorothy was back, and very suspicious behavior. The mom responded that she was back, and when the friend asked if she could talk to her, the mom said that she had a headache and she just went to sleep. This very suspicious behavior from the family led a lot of people to speculate that they probably knew a lot more about what was happening to her, and that they were probably lying about their involvement in her disappearance. So the following day, Dorothy's brother called a family acquaintance that was a lawyer, John Keith, to kind of come and investigate a little bit and see if he could find anything. This didn't really lead anywhere, and it was just further proof that the family were trying to keep her disappearance a secret, which again might be evidence that they knew what happened to her. Or other people also say that it could just be due to the fact that they're a very prominent family, and this would have a lot of damage on their image, and that they were just trying to keep it a secret for as long as they could, hoping that they could find Dorothy and avoid the media ever knowing about what had happened. In the weeks that followed, the Arnold's family hired private investigators from a very infamous agency called Pinkerton. So they scoured hospitals, shops, even the morgue, but it didn't lead anywhere. They were only able to find letters that were exchanged between Dorothy and a man, a 42-year-old man called George Griscom Jr. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's a 42-year-old engineer that she had met during college, and he was officially known as her friend, but in the letters they were able to figure out that they probably were in a romantic relationship that she had kept hidden from her family. And there's also further evidence that supports this theory that they were together, because a couple of months prior to what had happened to Dorothy, to her disappearance, there was some evidence that she was checking out of a hotel in Boston at the same time as George Griscom was also checking out of a different hotel also in Boston. And her family thought that she was visiting a college friend, which technically he was a college friend, but yeah, so a lot of people believe that they were in a romantic relationship. However, there was nothing to really link him to the disappearance of Dorothy, because at the time that she had disappeared, he was in Italy with his family, so he couldn't possibly have been with her. On January 26th of 1911, weeks after Dorothy had disappeared, the family finally decided to take her disappearance public due to pressure from friends and the community. So they had not let the law enforcement know about her disappearance until 6 weeks after she had disappeared, which is very odd for a concerned family to wait that long to get the law enforcement involved. So after the New York police department got involved, they still believed that there was a possibility that Dorothy might be alive. However, for some reason, the dad was convinced that his daughter was dead and that her body could be found in Central Park's frozen reservoir. However, the police did not believe this theory at all, because at the time of her disappearance, that reservoir was frozen, and once they were able to search it, they did, and the search did not lead anywhere. There was no evidence at all to prove that her daughter had been attacked or that her body was thrown into the reservoir. There was no evidence of this at all. So very weird that her dad would be so convinced of this theory, that this is what happened to his daughter, that his daughter was dead. While I was researching, I also found that barely 4 months after her disappearance, the parents had already taken her out of their will, which again, very odd behavior. So over the years, a lot of people started claiming that they were Dorothy, but they were just imposters. It didn't really lead anywhere. They were just hoping to gain access to her wealth. A lot of people speculated that Dorothy had probably either just run away with a different identity to just escape from the pressure of her family and just her circle in general and the environment where she lived. And a lot of people also think that she might have self-exited because of all the rejection that she was getting from publishers and her family regarding her career and the lack of support that she faced in general. These theories, they seem to be the two that people believe the most. However, there are still some theories that are worth talking about. So another major theory of this case is that Dorothy had become pregnant of Griscom's child, and on that day that she went out, she was actually trying to get an illegal abortion and terminate her pregnancy at a underground women's clinic, and that what had happened was that some complication must have happened while they were trying to terminate her pregnancy, and she died. Now there is some evidence that proves that there was an underground women's clinic and that there were some doctors that were practicing illegal abortions. However, there is no way to really link it to Dorothy. There was a doctor that had claimed to have performed a procedure on her. However, there was no way to verify his claims. There was no way to link him to the case, and eventually it didn't go anywhere. I just thought this was very important to mention because it is relevant to the case, but also because in this underground women's clinic, they found 2 oversized furnaces where it was believed that if there were any complications and one of their patients were to die, they would just put them in these furnaces and just burn them, just cremate them. And not only is this just very chilling, I think it's important to talk about it and to mention it, because we might think that this was over a century ago and that nowadays it's impossible to see things like this, but unfortunately women still don't have control over their bodies everywhere in the world, not even everywhere in the United United States. And even though this may seem like something that would never happen, very likely that these kinds of practices still exist to this day. And it's just very sad, and I find that it's important to talk about these things. So yeah, but moving on to a different theory. Next theory comes 6 years after the disappearance of Dorothy Arnold, and it comes from a Rhode Island state penitentiary inmate whose name is Edward Glenn Morris, if I'm not mistaken, who claims that he helped to bury the body of a woman that matches Dorothy's description. And he basically says that George Griscom, the man that she is believed to have been in a relationship with, was involved in her murder, and that he helped hide the body in an underground hole that he dug up with another man, and that they left the body there basically. However, the police went to investigate, and they did find at the location that he gave them, they did find the hole that they mentioned, but the owner of the land said that it was just for pipes or something like that. Basically, that there was no body involved, nothing like that. And they came the next day to dig up the hole again, and there was no evidence suggesting that there was any foul play that had ever happened there, or a body or blood. And they actually found the pipes or whatever it was that the man had mentioned that he used the hole for. So by April 1921, almost 11 years after the disappearance of Dorothy, her family had spent over $100,000 trying to find her, with no success, obviously. And that's when something really surprising happens. The police department comes out and says that the case has been solved and that Dorothy is no longer listed as a missing person. And this news is very baffling to the public because it comes with no explanation of her whereabouts, nothing as to what happened to her, where she is, nothing at all. A lawyer that worked with the family came out and said that this is untrue, and that they didn't understand why the police would say such a thing, because the case had not been solved. They still didn't know where Dorothy was, and just this disagreement between the police and the family also led to a lot of suspicion from just the public in general towards the family, because they just didn't understand how come the police are saying that the case is solved and you're saying it's not. How is this even possible? And I've also seen a lot of discourse about this online, and a lot of people were saying that the family knew exactly what had happened, but they were just lying and trying to cover up the story, because it was better that the people still believed that she had disappeared than knowing the actual truth. So to this very day, the truth about what happened to Dorothy Arnold is still one of the most mysterious, unsolved true crimes. Can we even say it's a true crime? We don't know if a crime happened. Just unsolved mysteries of New York City's high society, or just New York City in general. To this very day, over a century later, we just have so many questions and no answers at all. The family has passed, Dorothy obviously has passed too, and I don't believe that we will ever have answers to this mystery. It's just going to be one of these stories that we will think of when we can't sleep at night and wonder what happened to Dorothy Arnold. So if you guys are still watching the video, thank you so much for staying until the end. I know that editing is not great. I haven't even edited the video yet, but I already know my editing is quite terrible. But I'm practicing and I'm hoping to get better soon. And I just want to thank you so much for staying until the end, and I'll hopefully see you again on my next video. Thank you so much, and have yourself a very happy and spooky Halloween. Bye!